Самое интересное, это когда
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here. Louder, there's a microphone. That saves me from yelling, screaming, howling. Do you hear me better now? Yes. Okay. I don't know whether this is an advantage or not. I'm very happy to have 3 artists with me today. Happy to be here, first of all. And then these lovely people will play music by Debussy and Ravel. And they will be introduced by Katja, and she will tell you about them. And then I start to talk about Debussy. Why does this not? This is
So I'm Katrina Loudenhoek. I'm a director of International Music Academy, and I'm delighted to present our fabulous faculty and students of our academy. This is Alina Yudin. She's a wonderful pianist, great teacher. Her students are all crazy about her. Some of them are here today. She's going to play works by Debussy. She's a Ukrainian pianist. This is Tomas Johnson. He's a student of mine. He's preparing for a state competition, and he's performing Ravel Sonatina second and first movement, the second and third movement. And if we have time, I might play the first movement, so that you have the whole piece.
You need to know the whole story.
No, you don't. Stick to them. Okay, thank you very much, and we're looking forward to hearing you.
So we'll get a first musical impression by Debussy. The first of the first set of images. Image means pictures, and the name of it is Reflets sur l'eau, reflections on the water. much. It's a very appropriate introduction to. It's a little bit. No, it's not very nice that I said it's an introduction to our concert. It's a concert on her own. But we are playing on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday the other Image by Debussy. Image is French for images, pictures. And you see that the name, the style of Debussy, God, has a reason. What was the name of his style? Impressionism. So you associate with that paintings by Monet, Renoir, you name them, Sisley. And the Houston Symphony decided to have a collaboration with the Museum of Fine Arts. They are running a show, Monet and the Seine, La Seine, the river which flows through Ile-de-France and Paris, which was one of the favorite subjects of Impressionist painting. And a river is what she was playing, Reflections on Water, is a model for sounds which seem to have no end. They are running like water. And the instrument which is most appropriate to do that is obviously the harp, not the piano. Of course the piano, but if you listen again to this piece, it's like in every bar the harp is playing. And Debussy himself was very unhappy with being named an Impressionist, because he thought that people thinking this is like you put your right foot down on the pedal and let the piano swim. In fact, writing for Debussy was a matter of highest precision. And the Image for orchestra, of course, as I said, using the harp to the full extent, are most painstakingly woven pictures. You can't imagine how many details Debussy invented in orchestration. He was a genius in using the instruments and a genius in combination of instruments. And the scores of the three Images I will talk about are so complicated that until now it is not finished. What we need, what all musicians need now is clean editions which are edited, not just by an edition and printed, like Durand did 100 years ago. They printed it and they sell it until now and have never spent a week on the cleanup which is to be done in the score. So now we are waiting. We have Jeu, La Mer, and the other big scores, but you don't have the Image. And every time you study these pieces, you're sitting there and you're torturing your head. Is this a dot, or is it a dash, or is it even wrong notes? We are waiting for the genius editor who has to be a conductor, a better composer, musicologist, to dare to tell us this has to be that way. So it's incredibly meticulously written music, not to think that just, put the foot down and play. Can you play us just from the beginning? Okay, there are a couple of features of Debussy's music which are very clear. The first phrase in this D flat major, you have 3 layers of music. This, number 1, this is the basement. This is the waves, and there's one music which in the orchestra would be the horn with the a whole orchestra playing, and all the music of Debussy is like a miniature orchestra with lots of colors and interior voicing it. Very beautiful, very precise. And then, what is this? This is parallel chords in chromatic, complicated chords, chromatically just shifting. This is his invention. It's very beautiful. It anticipates a lot what jazz musicians, until Oscar Peterson and later, were feasting on the beautiful chords which came from French music. In the orchestra, layers of music are easier to do because you have so many musicians doing that. Now about the pictures or the image which we are playing, what are the names? The names are Gigue, Ronde de Printemps, and Iberia. Gigue has an association with an English jig. The jig in Baroque music was a 6/8, lovely last movement of a suite. It's completely different in Debussy, and it features one beautiful melody. With my voice today, I will not even try. Played by the oboe d'amore. Oboe d'amore is, you all know what an oboe is. An oboe is this rather short instrument which has sometimes a squeaky tone. Yeah. And the English horn is longer, is a fifth lower, and is like a lower, an alto voice. In between is the oboe d'amore. It has the quality of fresh oboe and the darkness of it. And it plays this, which is seemingly a folk melody. It's not, it's Debussy. It's usually meant to be an English tune. So Gigue was by musicologists put in the English corner. Ronde de Printemps is French. Ronde de Printemps means round dances of spring, and uses French melodies. Very rare case in Debussy that he uses a folk melody because it was far too let's say, sophisticated, or he didn't want to be seen as a cheap user of folksy music. But nous n'irons plus au bois, we will not have a walk in the forest anymore, is the name of this, which comes in 100 different all in bigger, smaller versions. Around that, he does this round dance. Very beautiful and incredibly tricky for the orchestra, and not gratifying because nobody in the audience should ever have an idea that this is tricky. It should just sound fresh and friendly. And the most famous of the image is Iberia. Iberia obviously means Spain. And Spain, in 3 movements, has 3 picturesque names. The first is par les rues et les chemins, on the streets and the roads, and you literally can see the too close?
Yes.
Better? Literally can hear the boys whistling, and you can see the market and all the street traffic. The second is les parfums de la nuit, the scents of night, the perfumes of night, which is called by Boulez as one of the high points of Debussy's art. And I will try. What she played in upward movement, I don't know whether. Is one of the core ingredients of many Debussy pieces. And the last movement is Matin de jour de fête, morning of a holiday, of a holy day, with like a tourbillon. What is a tourbillon? A whirlwind of melodies, little motives floating in the air, and then the whole orchestra sounds like a guitar. It's the whole string section, not the cello, but the violas and the violins take the fiddle down and play, strum it like a guitar. Rum, pum, 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 wum, pum, 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 pum. Very funny music, brilliant, and quite difficult. And I hope that you go there, because this music is too beautiful, it doesn't sell so much. We would like to see more people in the hall than we have sold until now. That's also a reason why I'm talking about that. No, this is an insider music, a musician's music. And the Houston Symphony is daring and nice to allow me to do such a sophisticated program. I'm very proud that they're doing that, and very happy. And I hope that the audience will reward this courage. We get a second of the piano image. There are 6 of them, 3 for the orchestra. The 3 for the orchestra are not written as a suite. They are written over a period of 8 years or longer, because Debussy was very slow. Not because he was lazy, but he was really very meticulous and very autocritical, self-critical. But there are 6 images for piano, and the next one is called Hommage à Rameau, homage to the French Baroque composer Rameau, which is, let's say, a translation of old music in his style. the Debussy pieces will be the second part of the program. In the first part of the program, there's another French composer, usually mentioned at the same time as Debussy, Ravel, but who is very, very different from Debussy. Debussy was really a man who was finding new things at highest risk, very breakable, very sensitive, very unexplored. So he was always at the risk of failure. Ravel, who was about 10 years younger, was a master and of the highest security, of the highest precision, of a Swiss watchmaker's precision. Not like Debussy, who was precise to the new little things. Ravel was writing perfect objects, toys. And they both respected each other very much. Some people wanted to create kind of a Brahms-Wagner opposition. It didn't work really. They liked each other and had great esteem. But Ravel is more popular than Debussy because he wrote a couple of really outward brilliant pieces like Daphnis or La Valse, or piano pieces like Scarbo, which is one of the most difficult piano pieces ever, in a translation of Liszt in a new language. And then he also had the same, you see, Hommage à Rameau, it doesn't sound like Baroque music, probably the Gregorian chant at the beginning. Ravel also was looking back. He wrote after World War I, homage to 6 friends who had died in the war, Le Tombeau de Couperin. Le Tombeau de Couperin is the grave of Couperin, which was a contemporary of Rameau, means in French not that you go to the graveyard and see the tombstones. It's let's say an epitaph, homage, rather in literature than in stone. So the suite Tombeau de Couperin is made of 6 movements, and they are all Baroque dances, real dances, not like this. A little bit the same we will hear now is the sonatina. Sonatina was a small sonata in the classical time, usually written for young people or for people who didn't have lots of time. So Beethoven wrote Opus 53, Waldstein, which is a half an hour. Then he wrote Opus 49, 1 and 2, which are both only 15, 16 minutes, and they were sometimes called sonatinen, kleine Sonaten, little sonatas. Sonatin by Ravel is also, compared to other pieces, klein, small, and precious, but it's tricky. It's a very nicely written piano piece, and I would say that we should listen to the first movement now, and you will hear the difference between Debussy, who is like meandering, a little bit unpredictable, a little bit just always showing that he's just aware of big freedom he was fighting for. Ravel is ordinary, it's not ordinary, is well, you feel the rules, you feel the strict construction and technique, but the charm is incredibly French. I think we should have a try of first movement. see, there's a similarity, of course. It's using similar chords, like those 7th chords in 7/9, but there's one main difference. Debussy would never have written a sonata movement with an exposition, a development, and a recapitulation of first subject, second. It comes back at the end, like at the beginning. This is Ravel looking back. Why did I mention the Tombeau de Couperin, which was an homage, like Hommage à Rameau? If you listen to this music and to Tombeau de Couperin on the piano, you immediately feel that there is potential of orchestration, and Ravel did. He did 4 of the Tombeau de Couperin. If he would have decided to make a little sinfonietta from the sonatina, it would be a beautiful orchestra piece, and it lends itself to orchestration. What we are playing is called Ma Mère Loire, Mother Goose, Matushka, Gusine, Browski. This is originally 5 easy pieces for piano 4 hands, written for 2 lovely children of a friendly couple, where he could spend time with them, even on their boat. He was very, very friendly with them, and he adored children. So he wrote this music for children, which unfortunately partly is far too difficult to be played by children. But it's very nice, and well, the beginning of the first La Pavane de la Belle au Bois dormant, the Pavane of the Sleeping Beauty, is so easy that even I could play, but I don't make a fool out of myself. So those 5 pieces got very successful and famous, and he orchestrated them. And Diaghilev, the devil of Russian spirit in French surroundings, inspired him to write things in between. Interlude, little bridge music, but also a whole introduction and a new piece which is called Danse du Rouet, the dance of the spinning wheel, when the girl is punching her finger and falling asleep, and then she wakes up after having been the Belle au Bois dormant. This is about a 30 minutes piece. It's just a gem, a joy to listen. It's, I think, fairy tales for every age, for real children to those who have outgrown the age, but not the spirit of childhood. And it's one of my all-time favorites. And I did it here about, I don't know, 15, no, 10, 7 years ago. We did also the Debussy Image I was looking up 11 years ago. And still, again, you see, the Ravel pieces are precise, well constructed. The Debussy pieces are like a building of Gaudi. A French building like Corbusier and Gaudi, like this. I don't know what is more interesting. Certainly, from my point of view, it's more difficult to write like Debussy. And I had a teacher in Italy, a very famous man. His name was Franco Ferrara, who once astonished me by saying, "Ammiro Ravel, I admire Ravel, ma adoro Debussy, I adore Debussy." This is strange to say that Debussy in your mind lasts longer. But let's be happy to have Ravel. You will hear more of Ravel, special features in the second movement of the sonata, which is a minuet, really in the old style. Like an artificial naivety. And the last movement is a toccata, real difficult, real nice, and real, let's say, show piano music. And that brings me to the third piece on our program, which is a piano show music, is the second piano concerto. The second, I say the second, because they were written at the same time. He wrote 2 piano concerti. The last big works he could write before his mind was blocked by the progressive disease, physical disease of his brain. And he said that every bar he wrote cost him blood. He lost speech, he lost writing, he lost memory, and he lived about 6 years in a half darkness of his mind. That's very tragic, but you can imagine how hard he was working to hide this from the world and write the most sunny, funny, and brilliant piano concerto of the 20th century. Jackie Kimura Parker, who played it, he's really, I think, the guy who is just born for that, with his American upbringing, because Ravel was imitating or quoting or just lovingly using little tastes of jazz in this concerto in a very French manner. And you will enjoy this because it's the most anti-Debussy piece Ravel wrote. It's very skinny, very brilliant, sharp edge, and very difficult for the orchestra. It's a concerto for orchestra. Every wind player has a solo in it, which is in the book of audition excerpts. If you go into an orchestra and you want to be a little clarinet player, you have to play Ravel concerto. If you're a piccolo player, the piccolo solo. If you're a trumpet player, the trumpet solo. Horn solo, bassoon solo, you name them. It's for everybody, clarinet, for everybody, it's difficult like a solo piece. So it's a parade of soloists on stage with the pianist, of course, beating everybody. That brings me back to the sonatina, to the minuet, like homage to earlier music, and to the toccata, which is like an anticipation of the perpetuum mobile of the last movement of the Ravel piano concerto. If we could invite our young artist, Thomas. so much. Well done.
With the brilliant parents we have here.
Yes, thank you for listening so patiently. If you have any questions, I will try to have any answers. If you don't, even better. You see the difference of Ravel. Ravel is brilliant. Debussy is very rarely brilliant. It's just colorful. Both are wonderful. And if you have time on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I beat the drum silently. Thank you. Well done.
With the brilliant parents we have here.
Yes, thank you for listening so patiently. If you have any questions, I will try to have any answers. If you don't, even better. You see the difference of Ravel. Ravel is brilliant. Debussy is very rarely brilliant. It's just colorful. Both are wonderful. And if you have time on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I beat the drum silently. Thank you.